We have another terrifying animal story, Darren. We
Oh,
haven't,
man.
back by popular demand of our fans' request, we haven't done one in a while, and I have located one.
Well, it's not enough to live in a house and be a neighbor, whether you're a bad neighbor or you're a good neighbor. You have to deal with the animal kingdom.
The animal kingdom. This is terrifying turkey trashes garrison home.
Wait,
Now,
a terrifying turkey. I'm assuming this is a live turkey, not somebody that attacked a house with a frozen turkey.
no, this is a wild turkey that somehow managed to smash through a $2,000 plate glass window.
There's wild turkey that's destroyed a lot of homes, Jeff. Successive shots of wild turkey has ruined homes, has ruined families. But
all
again,
over the country.
It's a different wild turkey.
Proof. Yeah, at 101 proof, you don't need much of that to go wild. But so this poor lady, she comes home from work, and if memory serves, she was in like holistic medicine. So I'm picturing a day of incense and soft spoken, and
that's work. That's work, Jeff.
And that's work. And then she comes home and she's like, "Oh my God, my house has been trashed." So she comes in the back door. The kitchen is in disarray. There's blood on the floor.
Well, someone like her might think that there's some otherworldly source for that. There's some malevolent spirit that destroyed her house, but no.
See, I would have just assumed I had an intruder and dialed 911 because you come into your house, your kitchen is trashed, and there's blood on the floor.
Yeah,
that's an automatic 911 call.
Yes.
But apparently she has two cats, so she went looking for the cats.
Yeah.
And in her living room is a gigantic wild turkey that she's eye to eye with.
Wow.
And he has a 4-foot wingspan. So turkey sees homeowner, freaks out again. It's like flying all over, breaking, pottery and.
You just mentioned the cats. Where are the cats in all this? I thought that she'd go in the other room and the cats would have attacked the turkey, but probably the turkey has the cats cornered.
The cats, completely worthless, disappeared and didn't return for 24 hours.
See,
after this incident.
you train a watch cat. You train a cat to watch your place, and then this kind of thing happens. They're useless.
Yeah, absolutely useless. So here's the interesting twist on this. So most people, if I had giant turkey in my house, I'm normally going to open up a few doors and windows and then attempt to shepherd the turkey in the direction of the exit.
In a gentle, shepherdly way.
Yes. Not true in this case. Lady calls her neighbor. Neighbor comes over with stun gun.
Oh, no.
And ladies and gentlemen, word of warning. Stun guns don't work on wild turkeys. So they stun the turkey. Wow. Which causes the turkey to even go more crazy.
Oh, no.
And he's flying all over the house, breaking more stuff. So, if you run out of bear spray, I guess if you're hiking through the woods and you don't want to stun gun a bear because that's just really going to take it off.
It just makes them mad. So, folks, again, we talk about this frequently on this podcast. We are about informing people, giving you information that you can use in your daily life. Here's today's first lesson from today's podcast. Do not use your stun gun on wild animals. You have it on your holster. You're just itching to use it. And you see a creature. Well, I don't want to stun a human. They'll be really angry. But let me just stun a wild animal I come across. Bad idea.
Yeah, I guess kudos to the person with the stun gun for having good aim. But
do you want the neighbor? You want the neighbor with the stun gun or the neighbor with the shotgun? So wild turkey. He thinks, wait, there's turkey. There's a big old piece of wild living meat at my neighbor's house. I'll just bring over my 40 gauge, 30 gauge, 20 gauge. I don't know what gauges are shotguns, Jeff.
12 gauge.
12 gauge. I'll bring over my 12 gauge, and I'll waste that turkey, and then we'll split the meat. That's good eating.
Probably good eating. I actually have some friends up in Cheeseland that probably would have done that very thing.
But if someone shoots a turkey in your house, Jeff, how do you get turkey blood stains out of the sofa?
Yeah, that's a good question. Plus, I think there's some rules about discharging a firearm within your residence, which which I think would be in play if you were doing it to take down a turkey. So
But you get angry within certain city limits, different municipalities, but inside your home. But your home is your castle. Where else could you discharge a weapon, Jeff? I think you should be allowed. The way gun laws are now, you should be allowed to discharge a weapon in your own home, for crying out loud.
Well, especially if you felt if your safety was threatened, Darren, by this giant turkey.
By a giant turkey with that 4-foot wingspan. And, turkeys, I wonder how close are they to ostriches? Ostriches can kick your lungs out.
Oh, yeah.
So can a turkey with those wings, can they beat you about the face and upper body?
It'd be something like out of the Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's Birds, where you just come in and person's dead, they're missing their eyeballs, and they're like, "Oh my God, what happened here?"
There's that scene in the Birds where who's a woman, Kim Novak, whatever.
Yeah,
she's sitting in the playground, and there's a couple of those crows nearby, and then the camera goes away, and then it looks at her again. There are a few more of those crows, and then the camera goes away, and the birds are starting to gather around her. What if instead of crows, there were turkeys? And so there's one turkey behind her, and then 5 turkeys, and then 27 huge turkeys.
And they're like, we're here to exact revenge for all the Thanksgivings on you.
That's right.
God, I remember watching The Birds. Remember when they used to run the movies after school? I don't know if you had this, but I watched that movie as a wee lad. I was terrified of birds.
Yeah.
And I watched it during the summer, so obviously we were on summer vacation.
Yeah.
And anytime I was in the yard and I saw 1 or 2 birds land, I would be like, "Holy smokes, they're coming quick into the house!"
It's just the beginning.
Oh my goodness! I was probably like, I don't know, 5th grade or something when I was absolutely petrified of birds for like an entire year.
And then terrifying, and you find out later that the way they made the movie is to put peanut butter on various things. And so kids love peanut butter, and then you learn that, and you think, oh man, I can't eat peanut butter anymore because it might draw feral birds to attack.
That want to eat you. So, well, this story has a happy ending. The turkey did finally make it out of the house after being stunned and, his noggin bloodied after crashing into the ceiling more than one time.
Wow.
Trying to fly away. But he did some damage, D, like a couple of $1,000 worth of damage.
Because this is a turkey that can actually fly. And
this turkey flies. Yeah. So this turkey, he got in through a 2nd floor window that he just crashed into. So well, that is a lovely thing. The woman wanted new furniture anyway. All those ceramic knickknacks she inherited from her great aunt, she was looking for a reason to get rid of them anyway. So this is happy ending, Jeff. Very happy. Yes, all the poor Hummels destroyed on the floor. She probably had to cancel all her patients the next day because she was probably too. After this, she probably was not in a state of mind of calm and if
you're going to your new age practitioner and you walk in, hey, it's time for my appointment. Oh my! And then the place is covered in turkey blood and feathers, and there's this scene of disaster. You're not in your warm, happy, meditative place for your new age session, Jeff.
That's right. And the photo I'm looking at, the turkey does not look all that menacing. They actually got a photo of it in the cat bed.
Oh.
And it does look kind of angry. It's got this look on its face like, what are you looking at? You looking at me?
So not only were the cats unable to scare away the turkey or fight the turkey's saying, you know what? I'm going to lay right down in your bed. I'm going to make myself at home. You can do whatever you want, cats. I got this. This is my house now.
Right. You want a piece of me? Come and get it. So anyway, the only reason I thought this story was funny was the stun gun. I've never heard of anybody attempting to stun gun an animal in their house.
Don't. If the turkey shoots or hunting wild turkeys or don't attack a wild animal, maybe you should just leave the stun guns in the closet, Jeff. You shouldn't take them out ever.
Yeah, I would end up stunning myself, and that would be a bad thing. But speaking of stunning, Darren, our show today is you'll be stunned by some of the angry neighbors that we have on the show today. It appears that excess drives people to do crazy things.
Excess, so neighbors get excessive. They're not just being neighbors, they're being like super neighbors or super irritating neighbors or What do you mean, Jeff?
Excessively annoying neighbors on today's show.
Dirty deeds, triggered tirades, busybodies, and missing cats. They say tall fences make good neighbors, but bad neighbors make the Right Next Door Podcast.
Jeff, we love our neighbors, we hate our neighbors, but one thing is we expect neighbors to be, I don't know, neighborly. We expect them to be a certain way. But if they get excessive, if they get over the top in any way, Jeff, that's hard to deal with.
That is hard to deal with. And I found a story this week that is another one that kind of took me by surprise, much like the stun gun. We've got over 1,000 neighbors mounting an anti-noise campaign against a church.
Wait a minute, a church, a house of the Lord, a place for meditation and retreat and prayer and quiet contemplation about life and the world. Why on earth, Jeff? Why?
Well, I was wondering the same thing. At first, I was thinking to myself, okay, even if you're not a religious person, there are certain, musical components of various faiths that are fantastic.
Yeah.
A
lovely boys choir.
You've got the boys choir. You've got I don't think I've ever heard a gospel choir that I didn't love.
Yeah.
You got like 30 people singing in harmony. I mean, it's hard not to tap your foot and just get into the spirit of it.
About the praise, right.
About the praise. So, I mean, so I was thinking, well, how could they be upset about a church?
Come on.
So then I do I do a little research on this church.
Yeah.
And I've figured out why the neighbors are upset. So they have a gigantic tent outside. So we're not in a building.
So we're not in a building. There are no walls. You're out. You're basically it's like a church camp. There's like a huge tent. How big a tent, Jeff?
To me, it looked like the size of about a football field. I mean, this was like the big. You can see it from satellite. Let me put it that way. That's how big the tent is.
So there's so many people, they don't fit in the church. You have to put them outside in the field.
They go outside in the field, and then we don't normally record on Sundays, Darren, but today we're recording on a Sunday, and so I was able to witness the band playing live.
Yeah.
And when I say band, I mean a band on a stage with lights, amplification, not one, not two, not three, but 4 guitar players.
Electric guitar.
A bass player, electric guitar. Well, 2 guys were acoustic, 2 electric. We had a guy on bass. We had a guy on keyboards. We had 2 vocalists and a drummer. Now, that is a bona fide band.
That's like... it's like a rough kind of rock and roll, heavy duty, crazed praise.
It was crazed praise. I mean, these guys were cranked up to 11, singing the praises of the Lord.
Rocking out, rock of ages, rock. And if that's your neighbor, if right next door, you have your house, you're going to enjoy your quiet Sunday, Jeff, but there's some people really just amplified. Basically, it's a stadium show. It's like a huge outdoor Woodstock next door. No matter how good the subject matter, it's pretty out there.
Pretty out there. And unfortunately, unlike Woodstock, it happens every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. and every Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Oh, so you can't get away from it.
You can't get away from it. And if 1,000 people have signed, over 1,000 people have signed this petition, I mean, as you know, sound travels. Like when there's live bands playing during the summer, I could be 1.5 miles away and still hear the music.
Or if you live anywhere near a high school, like there's a high school 1/2 mile away, and the marching band is performing.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Jeff, you're a drummer, so if you were outside in your backyard playing your drums,
people would get annoyed. Yeah, people are probably annoyed when I play them inside the house, let alone outside. So I have to say on this one, and then so here's what the church is going to do.
Yeah,
they didn't say they'd turn down the music or go to 2 guitar players, or even play acoustic shows. What they're going to do is buy a new tent, which allegedly will contain the sound to the tune of $500,000.
Well, and they can afford to because they're getting that kind of attendance. People are putting the money in the collection plate. And so, the words, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, the words soundproof tent do not inspire confidence.
No, that's like waterproof snorkel, I guess. I don't, it's going to get wet no matter what, And
twice a week with that kind of stuff. What if you're and what if you don't share their religious beliefs? That's even maybe a little tougher.
Yeah, well, yeah, even that aside, I mean, just hearing, I mean, it's kind of like, it's not heavy metal, but I mean, it's like, I don't listen to, quote unquote Christian rock, but it's basically just, rock music, but it's got, a theological lyrics to it.
It's just rock, Jeff. And if you're, again, you own a home, you've paid for your home, and then this massive mega church, they don't just move in next door, they move in the yard next door. And they put this rock band right over there. You're trying to, what if you're grilling? What if you have some family over having breakfast or grilling or coming over, you have your grandkids in the yard and you're being blasted out.
I don't want to hear that at 10:30 on a Sunday morning. That is for sure. Regardless, I mean, even if it was, I wouldn't want to hear, the Rolling Stones at 10:30 on a Sunday morning.
No matter how good the music, and I'm putting good right. like praising and good. But still,
good vibes, like whatever it is, it's too over the top. So I just thought that was a bizarre response from this church leader. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna try and be a good neighbor. I'm gonna buy a soundproof tent.
I'll buy a nicer tent for you. So yeah, not gonna turn down. Not gonna do the thing that's the least expensive thing. Just go from, because those amplifiers go to 11, Jeff.
Right.
You could just turn it down to, I don't know, 9.
9 or a 7 or an 8 or anything is better than what they're doing now. And maybe like take a page out of the Monk's playbook and just do a little, quiet chanting once in a while. I don't know, but so I don't think those.
Some monk-like chants, or just break it up a little bit, some quiet contemplative time.
Right. One would not think you'd be complaining about noisy neighbors that are at church, but I guess this is a case of never say never, Darren.
Exceptionally churchy, exceptionally noisy. No, thank you.
Now, another thing which apparently is a thing, and I've never even heard of this. Have you heard of malicious compliance?
Malicious compliance? No.
I have never heard of the term malicious compliance. Apparently, there's a whole Reddit thread.
I think of compliance as like a good thing, like, oh, well, I'm following the law. I'm being helpful. Right. I'm complying.
You're complying.
There's somebody's wishes that I'm acceding to. Okay.
So here's a cautionary tale to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So we've got a Gladys Kravitz type neighbor.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, she thinks the shed on her neighbor's property is too big, not compliant with the law. And so she calls and registers a complaint, and then there's an inspection. So the inspector comes out and does all the measurements, and the inspector says, well, actually, you're well within compliance. You could actually have a shed that's, X amount of times bigger than the one you have.
So this lady has pointed out the shed, and then we find out the shed could be bigger. I can almost guess what's going to happen next.
Well, you guessed right, my friend. That shed came down, and then they waited 3 weeks so that the lady would think, oh, I made him tear down this shed. Yeah. 3 weeks and a day, the new shed goes up, which
and
is
it's
even
bigger. It's bigger. It's maliciously complying. It's exactly as big as it can possibly be, and it's maliciously in compliance with exactly the kind of shed that can be there. Oh man, that's revenge.
100%, and it gets even better.
Go ahead.
So the inspector looks at Gladys Kravitz's yard, and apparently she has a fire pit and something else that is not compliant.
Oh.
So knock, 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 Mrs. Kravitz, you're going to have to tear down your fire pit and fix this other thing. So this guy is just got to be rolling over laughing because he's now got a brand new giant shed, and Mrs. Kravitz, the complainer, no longer has her fire pit and whatever the other thing is that she had to fix.
We had a podcast about neighbors who narc and, who narc out their neighbors and complain. And this is what happens. If you bring the authorities in to look at any problem, the authorities are going to say, oh, well, let's see what's over here. Wait a minute, your doorbell is 7 decibels too loud, and your driveway is 6 inches into your neighbor's plot of land. You bring the authorities nearby, you're going to set yourself up for some hurt, Jeff.
Right. So probably before you try to narc somebody out, you better take a look at your own yard before
look at the log in your
inspectors.
own eye. I think there's a Bible story about that. Before you complain about the log in your neighbor's eye, look at the log. Before you complain about the splinter in your neighbor's eye, look at the log in your own eye. To get all biblical on you, Jeff.
Wow, that's he ain't heavy. He's my brother.
Yes.
So let's go with that. Now, another story which was interesting, which actually spawned a movie, is there's some guy. He doesn't live in the Hamptons. It's some town next to the Hamptons who built a gigantic house. And when I say gigantic, it's now a mega mansion. We don't just have mansions anymore. It's mega mansion.
Wow.
It's over 100,000 square feet large.
Wait. Next door? Next door?
Can you imagine? So your next door neighbor builds 100,000 square foot house, has allegedly 29 bedrooms, 39 bathrooms, 164 seat home theater, basketball court, bowling alley, Pilates. Helicopter landing pad, etc., etc.
So if you look at this, how close is it to his neighbors? So the other neighbor house, they're just regular mansions, and then you have this crazy, excessive, nutty, massive pile of home.
Well, yeah, so that's what I was thinking originally, but then when I looked at the aerials, he's pretty well secluded. It almost looks like oh gosh, what's the place out in California? Hearst Castle. It's kind of like, all the neighbors are around it, but they can see the castle on the hill.
Well, so Jeff, what's wrong with that? So I have more money than I should be allowed to have in this society, and so I'm going to blow my cash on something nobody needs. Way, way, way too much room. It's not like I have 37 members in my family. I'm just going to be conspicuously, I'm going to spend money with all the problems in the world. I'm going to spend money on this stupidly large house. But that's America, Jeff. That's the excess of America. I can have 7 cars. I can have 3 toaster ovens. I can have 75 beds. So who's to say he's just a big jerk, though, right? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, yeah, I don't, in principle, don't have any problem with him making money. The issue I would have is like what type of individual. I mean, if I had this guy's money, there's no way on earth I'm building anything even remotely close to this. I mean, I don't know. It just seems to me this is a cry for help, Darren. It's somebody that's got tons of money, and instead of like if you had all that dough, you could build a really nice house and give lots of it away to charities to help people.
It's like those friends of yours that have, you have a friend that collects Barbies, and they don't have like 25 Barbies. They have like 7 rooms in their house. They're all filled with Barbie dolls of different types, and their clothes and their cars and their little Barbie doll friends, like just crazy excess of any kind, Jeff. Or you're collecting some people are into owls, say. So you have every ceramic owl, every stuffed owl, every owl painting, every owl shirt and T-shirt, and just any excess. You can just go too far with anything.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, his place kind of looks like Versailles. I mean, it's like it just goes on and on and on. It's got fields and orchards, and so look, I guess, good problems to have. If I had a multi-million-dollar mansion in the Hamptons and my neighbor's house was bigger and I was upset by that, I guess that's a good problem to have.
And if you go too crazy, there's this thing not too far from a Chicago area called House on the Rock. And you're an eccentric multimillionaire and you buy this place and you just keep putting weird stuff in it. And like this guy could do this. This might be what he chooses to do. You go so crazy, you eventually can sell tickets and people walk through your place for a fee. You can make money.
Well, look, this place is going to end up like every other place. Like I toured Mansion Row in Rhode Island on a trip.
Yeah,
where all the tycoons of the 1920s and that had all their quote unquote summer homes, and the places were amazing, but so cost prohibitive for even the heirs to maintain that they just donate them to the Historic Society and then they turn them into tours.
Well, that's what we got to be careful.
Hearst Castle, same thing with Hearst Castle, same way.
Well, that's what we got to be careful of, Jeff. We can enjoy our homes, but we can go so far that eventually we make this monstrosity that's so big we can't afford it anymore. We have to move out and then sell admission. That's the only way we can stay where we are.
And the sad irony of this story, Jaron.
Yes.
He doesn't even have that many visitors.
Oh.
According to this article. So who's coming to his 164 person theater and who's he playing tennis with?
Oh, Jeff, that's so sad. You know, and that belies, that goes against the adage, if you build it, they will come. You know what, Jeff? If you build it, they might not come.
They might not come unless, I mean, how many friends have helicopters? I don't have any friends with a helicopter. So
I have very few friends with helicopters or Harrier jump jets, or I don't even have that many friends with private planes, Jeff. I feel like maybe I got to get different friends. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it is kind of because the first thing I thought about when I read this was like, because there's so many celebrities that have houses in the Hamptons, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking of a neurotic guy like a Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Now he's got a pretty big place in the Hamptons. Does a Howard Stern type guy go, oh my? It's like the same thing with yachts. There's mega yachts now because a regular yacht not big enough.
No.
So it's always like this one-upsman thing where they're like, okay, well, my neighbor's got 18 bedrooms. I'm going to have 30. Let them see if they can catch me, with 30 bedrooms. I mean, I think it's one of those things where.
It's like Christmas decorations. You get, you put this much out this year, and then your neighbor next year has to put even more out, and there's a competitive nature for humans, Jeff, and we just have to pass up our neighbor in any way we can.
Yeah, I don't get it, but so these people are upset. So even at this pay scale, you've got access to those with enough money that. Maybe not excess, but they're upset by the excessive house.
Yeah.
So you've got multimillionaires or even billionaires that are upset with this billionaire who's got an excessively large house, Darren. So
money doesn't buy happiness, Jeff. Actually, the people who say that money that can't buy happiness don't know where to shop. That's what I always think. But you can just spend your money and do crazy things with your money and still not be satisfied because there's somebody else who's got a bigger thing. And maybe that size thing, Jeff, men and their size, their size competitiveness, Jeff. We don't want to go into detail there, but
the old that old song, I Don't Worry About a Thing. Have you ever heard that song?
Don't you worry about a thing?
No. It like the lyrics are like nothing's gonna be all right, so I don't worry about a thing. The minute you get fat, somebody else gets skinnier.
Oh,
it's a great old school song. This guy should probably, just given by the size of his courtyard, should just invite the church people over with their tent.
Hey, there's kill two birds with one stone. Invite the church to do their crazy, insanely loud praising right next to his mansion, and then they could stay in the mansion overnight if they cared to. They could use it as their offices, and there's a solution. If people could just work together, Jeff, why can't they all just go along and get along?
Right. They just set up in the courtyard. They do their service. Maybe a tax write-off for a nonprofit type of a thing. Who
tax
knows?
Deductible church. Yep.
I mean, just out of curiosity, what do you suppose the property tax bill is on a house valued at $500 million?
I'm thinking it's high, but He doesn't care. He's going to say, well, there's got to be, maybe I could build more. Maybe that's a competitive nature. I want to have a bigger tax bill than my neighbor over there. That's how competitive he is. I want a bigger tax bill.
That could be, and he's probably employing an army of staff. So I guess
he's a job creator, Jeff.
Yeah,
he's a job creator.
Twisted way, he's contributing to the I don't know what the employment situation is in that part of the world, but by God, he's got at least 50 on staff, I would think.
All those bedrooms, you got to change the sheets regularly. You can't just let them just sit there. After 3 or 4 months, nobody sleeps in that bed. You got to change the sheets anyway.
I'm wondering, does he go to each night? He just sleeps in a different room. So, I mean, he has enough beds that he can sleep in a different bedroom once a night for a month, and then recirculate and start all over again.
And there's an issue. He can help with the housing problem and the homeless situation in his area. Just he can help. I mean, if he's going to be changing the beds anyway, just let the homeless people stay in his house for a couple of nights every week.
And I'll make one final point, which I think will resonate.
Yes.
He has tennis courts, not pickleball courts, Darren. So I'm going to guess this guy is against the pickleballers.
Oh, man. It sounds worse and worse. Then he deserves every bad thing that comes to him, Jeff.
Well, I don't want to wish him ill will, but I will say the tennis guys don't like the pickleballers. So maybe his next door neighbor is really complaining because they prefer pickleball.
I'm sure that's true.
You have a neighbor who's driving you crazy. Tell us about it. RightNextdoorPodcast@gmail.com. The Right Next Door Podcast is an unscripted production of Eversharp Media, which takes a satirical look at local news coverage and social media. The material, views, and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the talent, guests, or the production company. Celebrity voices impersonated, including this one.